What's up, Tac MMA? I'm your host, Zach Weicker, and today we got a very special guest. He's a professional fighter with a 13-5 record. He'll be fighting at UFC Fight Night on May 18th. Please welcome Victor Martinez. Victor, how are you doing today?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, bro? Good. Just hanging out right now and just relaxing.
Of course, man. And before we get into the fight, I kind of like to give the fans and anyone listening a quick introduction on your background. So, how and when did you get into MMA?
I got into MMA back in, man, I was a sophomore in high school, no, a junior in high school, which was 2008. That's when I first started training, and I took my first fight, which I wasn't even thinking of competing. I took my first fight back in 2011, yeah, like 2011. I trained like for 2 years, or 2010. I trained for like 2 years, and then I took my first fight. Yeah.
What are some like the lessons that you learned from that first fight that kind of stuck with you forever?
Uh, well, I lost my first two fights, so I mean, I learned a lot off of those losses, and all my losses, I've learned a lot, and I feel like after those two losses that I had in the beginning, it kind of like motivated me to work like harder, change things up a bit, work with different coaches and stuff, and that's how I ended up training with my coaches now, which is Carlos Diego and Rick Avendaño, here at home, and then me and Carlos go to Fortis MMA over there with Safe Saud. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. And definitely some big lessons to learn. And you go by the nickname The Brick, you go by Vic the Brick. So what's the origin story behind that nickname?
So I first a friend of mine gave me that nickname, gave it to me and stuff. But I didn't want to like run with it because I felt like, man, I'm coming off two losses, like I shouldn't be naming myself that. And then when I got my first knockout win, which is my third fight, uh, I decided to stick with it. They're like, my friend was like, all right, there you go. You got your first KO win. And at first, I was kind of iffy too because I was like, man, now I have to live up to that. I got to get more knockouts and live by that. I didn't want to be called Victor Brick and not have any knockouts on my record. It wouldn't like fit. But luckily it did, and I got my third win was my first win was my third fight, and I got my knockout, and then I think I have like 8 TKOs or 9 TKOs in my record overall.
Yeah, I believe it's 8. I was looking at it. So definitely lived up to the name there. And to go on to the fight, you'll be fighting Tom Nolan. So what are your thoughts on your opponent's fighting style and strengths?
Uh, I know. Well, I mean, he's tall, so that's a strength on his end. But I mean, I've always fought in guys that are either bigger than me or taller than me. So I actually fought at 170 one time too against somebody who was probably the same height as him, or the same height as him. I took that fight late notice at 170, and I actually did really good against him. I ended up winning decision. Um, so his height doesn't really. I mean, of course, it's gonna be a factor. But I feel like once I get the rhythm and once I get that distance going, which is one thing that we've been working on a lot, I feel like I'll be all right. Uh, he does like to throw a lot of knees down the middle, a lot of uh, and I'm short, and both most of his opponents are short guys, so that's a good weapon on his end, because I mean, he's usually the taller guy. But I mean, those are things that I've been working on, and I'm just gonna have to face him that night, not shy away from them when he throws them, and that's the type of mindset that I'm trying to go in there with. I'm just gonna do me, do what I do best, and just well, yeah, I mean, just do what I do best. I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people know what it is that I'm gonna try to do. Right? I'm not gonna fight him from the outside. So, so yeah, I just want implement my game plan and what we've been working on, and hopefully get the win May 18th.
Yeah, and of course that's a few of his strengths, but you have a lot of strengths of your own. So looking at the fight, what's one aspect that you believe you stand out compared to your opponent?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Uh, Damn. Honestly, I don't even know if he's. Does he have knockouts on his record? I'm
I
not too
believe
sure.
I believe he does, but I can't
Yeah,
100% confirm that.
yeah. I can't. I've looked up his stuff and I looked up his fights, but I like to do it like quick. I don't like to stick watch stuff all the time. That's just me though. Everybody's different. I know my coaches do a lot of that for me. So and when they gave me his name, that's what I like to do. I like to just study him a couple of days, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Just for me, like that's just the way I like doing it. And but man, I just feel like my boxing's better. I feel like the way I slip punches, my footwork. I think that's what's really gonna help me in this fight, And I'm excited to show it. I'm excited to go and erase my last fight. It sucks because like it's been a year, and that's been you're only as good as your last fight, so your last performance. So uh man, I've had to live with that for a whole year already. And every time and I saw Jordan Levitt fight recently too, and I was like, man, like, he really fought after our fight. And so all that motivates me, all that lights a fire under my ass, and I'm just excited to get in there and do what I've been training, And I feel like my training camp has been going good. I I feel like I feel like I've gotten to like to train again. I've gotten that fire again. I like to show up and train. Um, so I'm excited for May 18th. We got 3 weeks, and I'm excited to get in there with Tom Nolan and see who's the better man that night.
Yeah. And you just mentioned there that you started to feel like you're liking training again. So what back then made you like not enjoy training as much as you do now?
uh, Man, just always pressure. You know what I mean? There's always like pressure. Like, oh, I got this fight coming up. I this guy, and I had mentioned this or like another interview that I had done. Like, I didn't have like a steady job or anything like that. And now that I do have a steady job as a firefighter, I feel like that's kind of helped me like the sport again, like the way I used to, enjoy it. Not kind of force myself to go through camps and like, damn, I gotta get ready for this guy now. And I gotta get ready and having that doubt in my mind, like, what if this happens? What if that happens? I'm kind of just like letting everything go and just doing me, putting it in God's hands and just enjoying the sport that He has blessed me to do, and yeah, man, like I feel excited. I feel good. I'm happy. Um, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm excited, and I'm in a good state of mind. That's what I'm trying to get at, and I'm excited to get in there May 18th and just showcase what I've been working on.
Yeah, for sure. And now since you have a steady job and you have an income coming in, does fighting feel more of like a hobby and a passion rather than a job?
Yeah, it does. For this fight, that's how it's felt. Like I mean, I love my job too. I love being a firefighter. It's a badass job, But now the pressure in my fighting career is not so intense. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I like to do, and I just love it again. And it's like you said, like it's like a hobby now. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously you do your training at Team Ferreira, BJJ. So describe to me what you enjoyed training there and what are your relationships like with your training partners and coaches?
Man, I've been with Diego since my second fight. Well, we kind of like crossed paths during my second fight. Like, so that's how I met him. And then after my second fight, I was already thinking of stopping fighting. I was like, man, I lost two in a row. It's not for me. And then I I had met him towards the end of that camp, and then he convinced me to do it again, to try it out again, and that's when I jumped gyms and I went with him, and I mean I don't regret it, like I am where I'm at because of his help and my coach Rick Avendaño, our boxing coach, which is his boxing coach as well, and Coach Safe, it's from Fortis. So we do a lot of cross training with them out there, and, um, and yeah, I mean It's been good. My training partners, I love training with them. You know, I get along with all of them. We always share ideas and just help each other out. Even if I don't have a fight coming up, but they do, I like to make my trips out there to Dallas and help them out. Uh, Same thing with Diego. Even if I don't have a fight, if he has a fight, it's kind of like we're both in camp because I gotta be there for him. You know, as I can't miss training because I have to be there and help him out. So I mean, our relationship is good, you know, and I feel that's what makes the camps go a lot smoother. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that even if you're not in camp, but Diego is, it feels like training camp. But for this fight, you guys are both in training camp. So
Yeah,
like that, you guys are both in camps. And what is the training atmosphere like with you two right now?
man. We actually sparred this past weekend, and it was pretty. Well, it was yesterday. Yeah, today's Sunday. Yeah, yesterday, and we had some good rounds, me and him, and man, and just we feed off each other. You know what I mean? The energy's there. Like you said, like we're both in training camp. He fights May 11th, which is the week before I do, and then he comes back from his fight, and then we both take off for my fight, and yeah, I mean the energy's good at the gym. We just kind of just feed off each other, you know, and we push each other. We're both in shape, so we know that we can push and push, and get that extra push from our training partner, you know.
Definitely. And there's a bunch of gyms in Texas. There's a bunch of gyms in the area. So what about Team Ferreira stuck out to you and made it special for you?
When I met him, he was getting ready for a fight, and I was getting ready for a fight too, and we just kind of clicked, you know. I got along with him. He was cool, you know. At the time, I forgot who he was getting ready for, but he it was his first fight here in Texas, and we just did a training camp together, and we kind of just hit it off, and we just kept hitting each other up for training, and we just stuck by each other, and we've been together ever since, and then he opened up Team Ferreira, and I've been a part of that team for since he opened up. Shit, I want to say like 13 years, maybe. Yeah.
Uh, and I know you also coached there. So how have you enjoyed that side of MMA?
Yeah, well, I've coached there pretty much my whole like the whole time that I've been fighting. You know, I recently stopped because I got my job as a firefighter. So it hasn't even been a year that I stopped coaching there. But I mean, I'm always still there. You know, I'm always if I'm not training, and if I'm not at work, because I'm hanging out there. You know, I mean, he knows that he can depend on me if he needs me for whatever, for the gym or to cover a class here and there or whatever. But I haven't coached there in a while, probably like I want to say seven, not like 5 6 months. Just because it was a lot. You know, I tried doing it at first, but it was a lot. Try being at work and then like getting out of work on my days off. I kind of just wanted to relax for me and do my own training, but then having to be there too to teach classes and stuff. So we had sat down and we talked about it, and but we just decided that it was best for me just to focus on my training and just work. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely could see that. And this whole time you've mentioned how long you've been training. So you have that experience under your belt. And your opponent, Tom Nolan, is new to the sport. He only has 7 fights. He's pretty young. So do you think your experience will play a factor in this fight?
I think it will. I mean, like you said, like he's young. You know what I mean? I think he's 23, 24.
Yeah, I believe
Uh,
20.
huh?
I believe he's 24.
Yeah, he's 24. He has like 6 7 fights.
Yeah.
Man, 6 7 fights. When I was 6 7 fights in, I was still fighting in the regional scene. So I'm sure he has a lot of hype coming behind him because I mean, if they pushed him this fast into the UFC, but uh, I just feel like my experience will help me out uh, and help and come fight night. You know,
Sure. And stylistically, how are you looking at this fight?
what do you mean? Like, how do I look at it?
Like, how do you think your style will match up with his style?
Uh, well, the fights that I've seen of his, like outside of the UFC, because he's only had one, right, with Nicholas Mota, and then the
Yeah.
contenders. Uh,
Hmm.
the other ones that he's had, I think my style matches good. but I will not say I'm not gonna speak bad about his style because he is really good at keeping his distance and stuff, and that is what he should be doing because he's taller than most of his opponents. But I feel like I've always fought guys that are either taller than me or bigger than me, and I feel like I close that gap pretty quick, and it's just a matter of when I do it, and every fight that I've had that they've been taller than me, I eventually will work my way in there and and use my hands, and that's what I like to do. I like to box more than anything, so that's pretty much what I plan on doing. Keeping the pressure on him, closing that distance, and landing some combinations. Yeah.
Definitely should be a great fight. The last time we did see you was your UFC debut, and even though it did not go to plan, you've probably always dreamed of making that walk and stepping into the octagon to now actually making the walk and being a UFC fighter. So, how surreal was that moment for you?
Man, it was a badass. Like shit. Like I never thought I was gonna be walking down that aisle in the UFC. Like I just I took every fight at a time and one by one, and it led me there. So I mean, I'm just grateful for the opportunity that the UFC's given me, that God's given me, and I'm just enjoying the ride. And it don't matter to me honestly, like how long this ride lasts. I'm just happy. I have no regrets, like doing it. And I'm just happy to be here and to have this opportunity. I'm excited to make that walk again, and uh, and hopefully I can make it a couple more times after this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And in the beginning of the interview, you said you always learn from your losses. So, what did you learn from the loss to Jordan Levitt?
Man, I learned. I feel like I lost that fight more. My mental. I did learn a lot on that fight. Just kind of to just let things play out as it's going. Not overthink too much. I feel like I did put a lot of pressure on myself for that fight because it was my first fight in the UFC. I wanted to impress, and I wanted to impress myself and do great. I in the Contender Series, I broke the most strikes landed in the lightweight 100, like 144. So I was trying to like uh surpass that, and I feel like maybe that is a good way to look at it, but I just feel like I put too much pressure on myself going into that fight, and now I'm more at ease with it. Like I said earlier, like I'm just kind of just gonna go with the flow and just let it be, and whatever happens happens. The more pressure I put myself in my own head, it's not gonna change the outcome. So I'd rather just be relaxed when I'm in there, and just let it play out how it's supposed to play out.
And going from UFC debut, of course, you had the Contender Series before, which is another high pressure moment. So, how would you compare being in the Contender Series to being fighting for UFC debut?
Man, and you see, like my Contender Series, I felt so good that week. Like everything was like falling into place. I was sending my coach Diego, and like I was like, man, bro, like I feel good, and I feel good going into the UFC fight too. I don't know why, just the name, because it was the same arena. It was the Apex, you know. And if anything, I feel like the Contender Series would be a little bit more nerve wracking because it's quiet. There's nobody else in there, and in the UFC debut, there was at least some people there, and but I don't know. I really don't have like a specific thing for me to be like, oh, this is what made it more intense or more like pressure on me. But maybe just because it was the UFC already, and I remember when they were announcing my name, I was like looking at my gloves and I was like that, and I was like, man, UFC, you know what I mean? Like I feel like all that kind of just started sinking in my head and just like it got to me, But I mean, I've worked on it, I've I've told people before, I've lost before, I've been here before. I lost my first two fights, you know. And I came back. I went on a 4-fight winning streak, So I know for a fact it was a learning. It was something like a learning experience for me, and I'm just not gonna let it happen twice. So it happened once already. Okay, I got it out the way. kind of just clear my mind from it, and I'm just gonna move forward and I should get the victory this time.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the Apex there, and that's all you fought with the UFC. This fight will be in the Apex, your debut at the Contender Series. So, what are your thoughts on the Apex? And would you like to fight in front of a crowd soon?
Oh, definitely, bro. I would like to experience that in the UFC as well. But I mean, Apex is all I know so far, you know. So I mean, it is a little different compared because in the regional scene, I would fight and it was like crowds. The crowd was like full, you know, the seats and stuff. So do I miss that? I mean, I kind of do. It was like motivating, you know, hearing everybody yelling and stuff. I've never experienced it in the UFC, so I'm sure that's a little bit more intense. The arena's more full and stuff, and they're bigger arenas. But would I like to experience that? Hell yeah, I think that'd be a badass experience to go through. And it just so happens, suppose I mean this is another Apex one, you know. But God willing, everything goes good and goes my way, and I get to experience that one day.
Yeah, definitely one. You're supposed to fight Trevor Peek in between your debut and this fight, and of course that would have been an amazing fight. So, what cost you to withdraw from that fight?
Uh I well, my coaches and I thought everything was kind of moving a little bit too fast. You know, it's like all right, like let's we're coming off this loss, let's kind of regroup ourselves and just relax for a little bit, train. I was also trying to get a job as a firefighter and stuff, so my coach was like, focus on that, get that going. Um, one thing, like one step at a time, you know. And I just kind of like, all right, let's get another fight going already right away. And then I was trying to do the firefighter stuff too and get a job, get hired, and piling up everything together. I feel like maybe slowing everything down. I did have some injuries. Excuse me. I did have some injuries that I needed to take care of, and I took care of them too. So that was another thing also. And I had re-injured an injury that I had for a while already going into the Trevor Peak fight, and so that was kind of like the last straw. We were like, you know what? Let's just pull back a little bit. Let's just wait. So let's focus on the injury and let's get better from that and focus on everything else going on outside of fighting, you know, and give yourself some time to kind of just regroup yourself. And I feel like it helped, you know. I kind of I'm injury free going into this one. I feel good. Everything went good with my firefighter job. I got it. So I feel like I'm in a good spot right now. Like my mind's right, you know. And man, I'm 32 years old, so I feel like he's. I mean, it sucks to say, you know, but shit. When I was 24, I wasn't in the UFC. I wasn't even close to being in the UFC. It's a good position that he's in. You know, he's 24, but man, it's my time. You know, I'm 32. You know, like this is I'm in my prime right now, and I feel like my mind's just right, and it's where it needs to be for this next fight.
Yeah, seems like you made the right decision as you got your firefighter job injury free. So, what was the motive behind being a firefighter?
I have a friend. He's a firefighter as well, and he was always like, "Man, you should consider it. It'll fit good with your fighting career and your schedule works with your our schedule. The firefighter schedule works really well, and it gives you enough time to train and stuff." And at first, I had nothing like I didn't know what to expect at first, you know. So and then I went to the academy. I signed up, and when I was doing the academy, man, I fell in love with it. It was pretty badass. All the live training fire, the live fire trainings, and uh, just everything that came with it. You know, I liked it, and I was like, man, it's a good choice that I made, and I'm happy with it. You know, uh, I didn't know what to expect. You know, people like you're asking me like what was it that I expected as I went in there. I didn't know what to expect. You know, and now that I've been working there. It hasn't even been half a year, probably like 5 months. Um, I haven't had like too many crazy calls yet, but I mean, just the experience that I've gotten so far, I mean, I like it, you know, helping others and stuff, helping the community, helping people when they're hurt and stuff. It's cool, you know. I like doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of upside for being a firefighter, but with the upside, it's also a difficult job and there's definitely a lot of challenges. So what's the most challenging part of the job?
Uh, well, like I said, like I haven't gotten like any crazy calls yet, but I guess it's like I don't know. I mean, just right now, I mean, I'm still like in the learning process of stuff. You know, I still haven't picked everything up, so I would say that that's probably the most challenging part for me right now is like trying to learn like the new things that I have to, or everything that I have to learn. Because I mean, I've been there 5 months. I know for a fact that I still haven't learned everything that there comes with the fire service, right? Uh, but I'm enjoying every step, you know, and just like how I started in a clean slate with MMA, I'm starting a clean slate with firefighting and an open mind, and I'm just trying to absorb everything and just learn and pick people who have been there for a long time already, pick their brains and just learn from them.
That's great, really is. And my final question for you, of course, you got a lot going on in the cage, you got a lot going on out the cage. So where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Shit, in 3 years, okay. I see myself still being a firefighter and God willing still being in the UFC, you know. I gave myself till I was 37, 38 to retire from fighting. So hopefully everything goes good my next fight and I can get another contract, re-sign with them and continue doing two things that I love to do, you know. So that's pretty much where I see myself in 3 years, still being a firefighter and still fighting in the UFC. Yeah.
That's the dream. Victor, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to shout out before you head out of here?
Well, I mean, I just want to thank all my sponsors like Vitamin Shack, Fit Grill, you know, my strength and conditioning coach, CSI, Cavazo Sports Institute, and the boxing gym that I go train my boxing at, Rubaldino Boxing, Coach Rocky. Just everybody who's helped me out, you know, thank you guys, and I appreciate your time and your help, and to help me get to this position that I'm in right now.
Victor, it's been more than a pleasure having you on. I want to wish you the best luck with your upcoming fight. Folks, that'll be all for today. Until next time.